सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति। हरि ओम्। This personality layers, you see that a human is essentially the self, expressing through the body. He takes the position of a perceiver or actor. Expressing through the mind, he takes the position of a feeler, making his emotional personality. The perceiver and actor is physical personality. Then in this consciousness, the self, where to express through the intellect, which again has two dimensions. The gross intellect, when it expresses, it becomes the thinker, intellectual personality. When the same consciousness functions through the sukshma buddhi, subtle intellect, he is a contemplator, making his spiritual personality. So a human being is a combination of physical, emotional, intellectual, and spiritual personalities put together. One way. Another way of stating that same personality is a perceiver, actor, feeler, thinker, contemplator. PAFTC. So all of us can put that in our visiting card. Everyone will ask, what is this? It's a new qualification. PAFTC. They think it's a big study. Every human is a combination of only these 5 personalities, 5 aspects. So in this, the accent is more with reference to the intellect. That too with reference to the subtle intellect. Now first we need to understand intellect. That's the most important thing to recognize it. Most of the time we get mix up with intelligence. This intellect gets mixed up with intelligence. Mark, there is a difference between these two terms. But however, don't get involved with the vocabulary. Right? Don't get carried away by those words. Right? Now understand the concept. Okay, don't worry about the words, but if you are going to be listening to these classes, if you are going to be studying the text, you should understand in what way the author is using that word. Because right through he will go on saying, build your intellect, build your intellect. Now, if you are not having an understanding of what is his meaning, what is meant by intellect, and unlike in the olden days, in those days, people were not having access to various masters. Today, when you are traveling in the flight, you can have an access to all those people. And each master has their own vocabulary. You will listen to someone else And that person will say, forget your intellect, build intelligence, live with intelligence. He will say. Now you get confused. Now, am I to follow this man or am I to follow that fellow? Is this fellow correct or that fellow correct? Is this teacher correct or that teacher correct? And then it is just a question of whoever is convenient for you to follow, you will say that person is correct. That's all. Whoever is resonating your ideas, each one of us, that is the problem when it comes to the study of life. When you study calculus, you don't have any notions of your own in mathematics. You don't have a notion of your own. But when you come to the study of life, every one of us have a notion. And any teacher who resonates our ideas, we subscribe to that teacher and say he is the best. That's all. You see, so don't fall into the trap, please. When we study a text, you should know the words used by that teacher and what he means by those words. So get on to the concept quickly and forget the words. But of course, any communication has to be done only through the words. Don't listen to the words. Also should be told to you only by words. Okay. So be careful, when you are listening to this sort of ideas. If you are going to be if you are going to be an onlooker, there is no problem at all. It's very easy. You can keep on listening. You switch on this video, you listen to this video for 5 minutes and switch it off and move to next video and go to next video, not by the same speaker, different speakers. Parallelly, you can even have 5 windows open also. If that is the case, then there is no problem. Then it is okay. Suppose if you are going to be a serious seeker, a sincere seeker, then you got to watch out. Don't get involved with the words, with the vocabulary. But there has to be a consistency of the usage of a term. If we use that word in different ways, every time you have to keep changing it, then it becomes a problem. Like, all of us have an agreed upon meaning. This is apple. By who decided that? That's not the point. Point is, all of us should have the same understanding. When I say apple, you also should understand apple. When I say apple, if you understand that as orange, and if we were to have a conversation, it will be chaotic. And most of the time, there's debates and fights and arguments, all that is happening only because we are not understanding or we speaking the same language. We assume that we are all speaking the same language, any language. In this context, it's English. But what is the meaning I'm going to give for that word is very different. That is where it is the speaker's or the teacher's responsibility to define what he means by intellect or what he means by intelligence. So here, when we use the word intellect, buddhi, that buddhi is divided into 2 brackets. One is called gross, another is called subtle. I did mention to you in the last class why one is called gross, why one is called subtle. Only by virtue of the field of operation. When the application of inquiry, investigation, discrimination were to be happening within the terrestrial world, that is called gross intellect. When the same discrimination and inquiry were to be happening beyond the terrestrial, goes to the transcendental reality, that is called a subtle intellect. Nevertheless, intellect means the same thing. Intellect means the capacity to discriminate, the capacity to distinguish. That's all. This is different. This is different. I've given this example already. A door is different from the wall. That's it. That is called intellect. I can go through the door. I cannot go through the wall. That is called intellect. Full stop. Where is this intellect is getting applied? It is getting applied within the world. Therefore, it will be called as gross intellect. Right. Now, this intellect, this is the faculty. Now, before you go into that, understand what is intellect first. Intellect means this. Before going to the division of it, intellect means discrimination. Intelligence is different. Now, most of the time, we mix up this intellect and intelligence. We believe that intellect and intelligence are same. Remember, they are not same. They are two different equipments. Intelligence means information. Information that we carry, we pick up. That any information, all informations are called intelligence. Then comes the capacity to receive that information, the capacity to retain that information, the capacity to reproduce that information, all put together. So when we say information, what is meant is receiving, retaining, reproducing, which is called as memory system. So intelligence is the quantum of information that I am able to receive, retain, reproduce. The extent of my memory. The person who has that intelligence means he has information. He just has this information. And that information, what do you do with? Why do you collect that information? And what you are going to do with that information will define next. So, information, memory, common. Okay. Now, the question is, for what you are collecting that information and what you are intending to do with that information comes the difference. And I say that I'm collecting this information so that I can make a living out of that information. That is where it becomes intelligence. Intelligence is collecting information, gaining any knowledge. Information in the sense, now we can replace it with knowledge. Any knowledge that I pursue with the intent of making a living out of it. Used to earn a living. So, intelligence is two things. One, I receive information, I gain knowledge, I gain this knowledge only for the utility of it. This is called intelligence. Intellect is information collected, but there is no idea of any utility out of that information. Without any thought, without any utility tag attached to that information, I go about collecting that information. Any utility, remember, Then the question will come. This is where 99% of us will buckle. Hey, then why should you gain that knowledge? Isn't it? Then why do you have to study? Like ask a fellow, why are you becoming a doctor? Now, what stupid question you are asking? Why do you want to study medicine? Why do you want to study engineering? Why do you want to study accountancy? Why do you want to study management? Why do you want to do this? Why do you want to gain this knowledge? Ask him. If he has this, he gains it only for the utility. You see? That is why I said school education cannot be included in this category. Remember, that is why basic knowledge is a must for everybody. Like, I had this belief, right or wrong doesn't make any difference. My belief is the child should study up to 5th standard in one school, 6th to 10th another school, 11th and 12th another school. Now, my daughter has no choice. You see, she had no choice. I decided to put her in one school. And then I said, I'll put her in another school. Doesn't make any difference. Wherever, even if I would have put her in another school, she will go there also. She would have gone there. There's no difference. Right? Now there, we can't bring in this idea of why, what, all those things, because that person, as far as the child is concerned, there is no choice. The child cannot be deciding anything. Where to go, what to study, which course they have to go. Should I go for state board? Should I go for CBSE? Should I go for ICSE? Or should I go for IBC? Should I go for IGC, ABC? Whatever it is. There is no choice. That's why the entire responsibility is to be taken by the parents. All responsibility is theirs. But I'm not talking there. I'm saying when the person is pursuing that knowledge on his own, what is happening, sir? That is where the difference comes into picture. When you pursue a piece of knowledge, information with the utility, no matter what that utility is, we don't care about what that utility is. For utility, you pursue something. That is called intelligence. You may ask why? How do you say that, Ishwan? Because when I am pursuing a knowledge, information for the utility, I will not go in for inquiry there. I will not get into investigative mode. I will go into memorization mode. Only when I am not having any utility, you ask me, what is the proof of it? The proof of it is every one of us have had a childhood hero. Ask these kids. A fellow will give every detail of Virat Kohli. Earlier generation would have given about Tendulkar. In between, they would be talking about Dhoni. Now Virat Kohli. Now you ask that fellow, he also gets that information. He also retains that information. He also doing all those things. But Is there any strain in that process? But you ask that same fellow to study about Ashoka, about his year. Ask about Vijayanagara Empire. Ask about this history. There, those informations, that data, for him to receive and retain, all that is a strain. Tomorrow you take same Virat Kohli into our syllabus, the fellow will not study. That's why I prefer not to bring them into the syllabus. Because you put that same person in syllabus, becomes a problem. But the same child is able to receive that information, retain. Now, when you are receiving that information, you have to go and inquire, do your study, investigation, think on that information and take that extra step. That extra step is where the difference is. That's why he would give a fascinating example. A true story. It's a very famous case known as Coimbatore forgery case. It actually happened. There was a case. A fellow filed a case stating a document is forged. So, very old case this was. The the court case started. The defense lawyer started bringing in various witnesses, various things to defend and prove that it is a valid document. And what was so interesting was, in that case, the judge would keep asking the accused, the opposition lawyer who filed the case, he would ask him, hey, do you want to cross-examine? He would say, no, sir. Do you have any questions to ask? He would say, no, sir. He would say, no, sir. He would say, no. For all the arguments produced by the defense lawyer, he is not raising any objections. He is agreeing to all that. Finally, the judge says arguments are all over. Now the final words, final statements to be made by you two. If you have nothing to say there also, then I can give my judgment straight away that it is a valid document. And that is the time this fellow got up. He said, my lord, look at the document, and placed it against the light. And you would see a watermark. All the documents in those days had a watermark, legal documents. Assumption was, it is difficult to forge that. Even in the money, when you have the currencies, we have Gandhiji. One Gandhiji you will see in the normal one. When you place it against the light, you would see that. That watermark is difficult to forge. So the legal documents, the papers should not be forged. Therefore, they had these watermarks. There also our guys, did it. This is old one, before that. So he asked, what is the watermark you see? He said, I see a camel watermark. Sir, the company which was manufacturing this paper changed and started producing the camel watermark legal papers from 1932. And the document was dated 1930. He brought the proofs from the company and he gave all those things. Paper is produced later than 1932, but the document is dated 1930. you'd say that's called intellect. Now, what is intellect in this? You see, that is interesting. You say, yeah, example, this is a real case, actually. What is intellect here? Think now. The defense lawyer did not have the intellect. He had only intelligence. What is it? And then he would say, in no university, law colleges, they teach when you're examining a document, you have to check the watermark. Nowhere they teach. But then what, sir? What is intellect is all that was done by the defense lawyer is the same thing this lawyer also has done. Both have done the same thing. He also would have examined. He also would have checked. He also would have spoken to these people. He would have discussed with them various laws, previous cases. So many things this lawyer also would have done exactly like the defense lawyer. But then he went one step extra. You see, what made him to take that one step extra into a totally unknown territory? He has all that information. Now, with all that information, he is using that information to penetrate, to probe, to go into one unknown territory, unexplored area, which is not told by anybody. That capacity to go in search into that unknown territory is possible only when you are not having any utility interest. If you are thinking in terms of a utility interest, you will never go there, because that demands a tremendous courage to go in. That's why we see of 100 fellows who start a business, 95 of them close down. Why? The first failure they can't take. They close. That's what one fellow said, fail. In Tamil Nadu, they would write the stones and all that, the walls along, they would write, Jesus never fails. One fellow wrote below, ask him to attend CA. I don't think he has attempted CA. You attempt CA, only you will understand what is it. See, so many doctors, so many students pass through this MBBS. So many fellows study science. But how many of them are scientists? You see, all science students don't become scientists. Why? Because the person to go in needs a tremendous one. That's why the Upanishads, they say, only a courageous should enter into this spiritual path. This is not for the weak-hearted people. Those who are weak-hearted, they can't come to Vedanta. Why? Because to probe into that. Because these fellows will gain that information and maintain that information, convert that into memory, and use that for earning. So, gaining a particular information, you retain that in your memory and convert that into your earning. That's called intelligence. Could be useful. I'm not saying it is not useful, please. Vedanta is not saying it is not useful. But please remember, intelligence is different, intellect is different. With intelligence, what is it, sir? You come up to this point. Fellows who have this, that is what a layman would say. You got to pursue the subject where you have an interest. We just use a casual word, interest. Now, how many of us pursue that field where we are interested actually? You are interested only in which field? The field which will fetch you a good salary, quick bucks. That is what we pursue. Now, it is not that I'm interested in that and then I'm studying. It's not that I'm interested in engineering, I'm studying engineering. Because there was a time once a person were to join an engineering college, that's it. He is considered as a hero of the village. You think, oh my God, that's it. All those fellows, all those people who have, girl, daughters, all of them will come to their house suddenly. They're studying engineering. Medicine means, not possible. Forget it. Medicine, they don't even compete. Because the fellow studies medicine means market rate is, very high. That's all. You are getting interested in a particular subject. Why are you getting interested in that particular subject? For what? Why are you pursuing something? Is because of the pressure of the parents. See, that's why I said schooling, they don't have a choice. But you come to university, in university education, why did you pursue whatever you studied? I think all you people, whoever is there in the class, all graduates. Right? Why did you study? And the tragedy is, you become successful also. You finished. Why are you successful? Because you define success only based on what? How much you are earning. If I'm earning more, I'm successful. If I'm not earning, I'm a failure. So your success definition itself is based on what? It doesn't matter. Any field. Suddenly everybody started playing, IPL. Everybody started, having. Sports has become such a big thing now. Why? Because there is a earning. Earlier there was no earning. Therefore there is no. Now there is a possibility. Therefore what? Suddenly everybody started saying, I'm going for offbeat courses. And those people think, they are all following their interest. No. Today's market is offbeat. If you are going for a regular one, there is no need. That's why you see how many students who have studied engineering go for MBA. My point, I can't understand the connection between MBA and technical education. So where is his interest there? You pursue it only because of what? Utility tag. When you are pursuing knowledge with utility tag, no matter what subject it is, including the subject of philosophy, including Vedanta, you can study for the utility of it. When you pursue the subject, pursue knowledge for the utility. Now, when it comes to interest, you can ask the question, why are you interested in that? Isn't it? You can ask the fellow, why are you interested in mathematics? Why are you not interested in English? Well, I'm interested in English. I'm interested in literature. If a person were to come and tell you, immediately you would say, what? Hey, you are such an intelligent fellow. Why do you want to study literature? Study engineering. Isn't it? Hey, how many parents I had spoken to? Or rather, they spoke to me. Sir, brilliant fellow. I don't know why he want to do. I said, why? Let him pursue. No. The problem is what? Utility. Intelligence means information plus memory plus utility. Consequence of intelligence is what? Arrogance. With intelligence, you will become arrogant. That is why today you see two educated people married together find it difficult to live together. Go to the family court. People are going for divorce. Who are they, sir? All educated people. I'm not saying, therefore you should become illiterates. Please. Now you have to get that information. Keeping that information, keeping that intelligence as the base alone, you can build your intellect. But intellect is different. The consequence of your original thinking based on the information that you receive. For you to think originally, you need to be explorative. You need to have the courage to go into that unknown territories. What will make you go into that unknown territory is only when you are not having any use for it. Then our point will be immediately what? Then why should you study? That is why all of us say, study Vedanta after retirement. You see, first thing what you have to do? First thing is you should get yourself educated, get a job. After getting a job, and obviously, of course, after getting a job, what are you supposed to do? Get married. And then do whatever you want. I'm not against getting educated or I'm not against getting married also. Nor Vedanta says. I'm only explaining what when Vedanta says intellect, it is meaning something different. Now, whoever says don't follow your intellect, ask them what they mean by that word intellect. Okay? Don't use this meaning there. Because he might be using the concept of the same with the word intelligence. Now, here, when we use that word intelligence, what is meant is information plus memory pursued for earning, consequences, arrogance. Where it leads to that? It leads to arrogance. Whereas intellect means the capacity to pursue the knowledge. Doesn't mean the person who is having intellect will not memorize. Remember, information, same. Memorization, same. It's not that the person who is building intellect will not memorize. He will not have any memory. He will have memory also. He will also have information. But then, in the first two steps, same. In the third and fourth is where the difference is. In the third one, he is pursuing it for what, if you ask? He says there is no reason. There's no utility. So when Samuel Johnson, the man who wrote that first English dictionary, he had no clue whether that book will be sold. You see, it took about 10, 12 years of solid work of him to produce a dictionary. First ever dictionary concept in the West. There is no concept of dictionary. You see, it is not that Samuel Johnson decided this is the meaning for that word. Remember? No. That is how it is being used in the world. And he is only bringing that and defining and writing a book. And definitely Samuel Johnson is not writing that book for him to know. We can't say Samuel Johnson wanted to know, therefore he is wrote that English dictionary. Now, afterwards, Oxford, Cambridge, all these people publishing dictionary is what? Intelligence. Samuel Johnson writing dictionary is intellect. Why? Absolutely no clue, no idea of what is going to be the use of it. In what way this book is going to be used. No clue. He just wanted to write that book. He just wanted to produce the dictionary because he felt it is a thing to be known. People should know, no? When we are using the words, we should know in what meaning we are using that word. And a layman would mock at him. That is why he never found anyone to no patronage for Samuel Johnson when he was writing the book. After the book became such a big hit, everybody started flocking and saying, wow, Samuel Johnson became such a big person. That is after, gone. All his life is gone completely. It's of no use. That courage you can have only when you are not going to be linking the utility to that knowledge, that piece of information. With this information, what I'm going to do? That is where we do see people giving fantastic lecture. I've known so many doctors who give advice, who cannot. It's impossible to believe that he doesn't know what are the ill effects of smoking. Who would know better than a doctor? And still he smokes. You go and ask him, what is this? He has all that knowledge, all that information he has, but then he's not able to, his life doesn't follow through that. That information stands independent of him and his life. Divorced. Intellect is exactly opposite. That is what in Vedanta they say Acharya. Acharya means the one who teaches what he lives. Now people always ask, do you practice what you preach? Question itself is wrong. In Vedanta, it says the question itself is wrong. Why? You are putting the cart before the horse. You preach what you have been living, what you have been practicing, what you have been applying. So, intellect means that capacity to penetrate, probe, investigate, inquire. That penetrative capacity is called intellect. I give this example. It's not my example. Of course, it's there in the Shastras. They say, what is intellect? Intellect is the capacity, that penetrative capacity to see beyond. You see these ladies, they plait their hair. Rare to see nowadays. First of all, ladies don't have hair. That much hair should be there, not to plait. Even if they have been all left open. You see those ladies flat in the air, you will see two strings only. When you look at that, you will see two strings. Goes this way, 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 goes this, goes this. Only two you will see. But you ask an ignorant person, he will say there is two. A man who has that penetration, he will say there is three. The eye will show two. Your eyes will show only two there. But you will say what? No, there is third one. There is a third. Is it hidden? The third one is not hidden, you know. It's not hidden. Hidden where? You see, you take that hair up and see. You won't see anything. It's not the two in the front, one in the back. It's not like that. But it is obvious. It is visible. At the same time, it is invisible. The capacity to leave the two and go in search. Could there be anything more than the two? Which is too obvious. That's why you say, if you want to build intellect, what you have to do, sir? Don't take anything for granted and question. The problem we have is we take everything for granted. Why? It's obvious, no, it's only two, man. Can't you see there is two? Now the question, could there be three or four or five? No, it doesn't matter. How many are there? But to say that, could there be anything more than that? To posit that possibility itself will come into picture only when you have the courage to leave this and go in search of it. The problem for all of us is to leave that and go in search. Not possible. We want someone else to do all those things and we should enjoy the benefit of it. Don't ask me to do it. If Thomas Alva Edison invent the electric bulb, he will pay 40 rupees and buy the bulb and put it on. That's all. And the fellow says, I am an electrical engineer. I am an electrician. Utility. 99% of humanity doesn't have that courage. Now you want to build intellect. You need the courage to leave the obvious. So the first phase, first step itself we buckle. Then comes systematic questioning. Questioning doesn't mean simply asking questions, please. Then you have to question it. That questioning should be systematic. So the first one is to develop that courage. When do you get that courage? You will get that courage only when you are not attaching any utility to the very pursuit of that information, the pursuit of knowledge. Now, intellect is a potential, remember. Intellect is a potential given to every human. Like muscles were given as a potential to human baby. And what are we supposed to do? Means we are growing, means the muscle should get nourished and exercised for it to grow. You had all the muscles. It's not that as you keep growing, only muscles keeps, forming. Muscles are there. But as you grow, what is happening there? Physically, your muscles are fed and the muscles exercised. If your muscles are not receiving the nourishment or not exercised, worked upon, it will never get stronger. Similarly, every human in the human constitution, composition, we are studying only the potential presence. That's about it. Does your intellect have that strength? Is the question. Your intellect will have that strength only when you have given enough nourishment to it and exercise. The nourishment dimension is intelligence. Exercising is thinking. Only when you originally think, independently think, beyond that information, only then your intellect will grow. When you stop it only at that stage of having nutritious food, it will get deposited, it will not become muscle, it will become only fat. That doesn't mean you should not have any fat in the body. You need fat also. But you can't have only fat. It's called obese. That's not healthy. The muscles should be receiving that nourishment. Muscles will receive it only when you exercise it. Similarly, your intellect gets nourished only when you exercise, only when you use it. The proper usage of that is where we have two types of intellect: gross intellect and subtle intellect. I don't know whether I'm going too much or I'm going too little. You see, it's a problem online sessions. Because it varies from different levels. So sometimes, we overshoot, sometimes we go lower. I have no idea. It's only an assumption, but you have to know it one day. So even if it is not today, you have to know it one day. So you better learn it. Early, the better. Now, your gross intellect has two aspects. The first is intellect has two aspects: gross intellect, subtle intellect. Now you say your gross intellect has two dimensions. One dimension of gross intellect is information, intelligence. One dimension, one aspect of gross intellect is intelligence. Also, the gross intellect has another dimension to it, another function to it. The another function of the gross intellect is to exercise control over the mind. Over the mind. Mind immediately means go back. We have seen that. Mind means what's that? Likes and dislikes, desires, emotions. This is mind. Essentially, likes and dislikes, you can take it as, to put it in a simple way. One is to gain knowledge, to retain that knowledge. All that is intelligence. Remember, receiving knowledge, retaining knowledge, and reproducing it according to the requirement. That is called intelligence. Right, wherever I have to, and receive new information, all those things put together. All that is part of your gross intellect. One aspect of gross intellect, which is intelligence. Your gross intellect has another function. Another function of the gross intellect is exercising control over the whims and fancies of the mind, the likes and dislikes of the mind. Both these things are done by the gross intellect. Okay. Now, before I go on, there is somebody has raised a question here. So please explain the connection between intellect and non-profit. If I got it correct at all, I don't think I did. It doesn't matter. It's okay. What is it? What is the connection between intellect and non-profit? Profit means utility. You pursue something for utility. You pursue something without any utility. It could be even a relationship that you entertain. That is where you go and join organizations. You join an organization. Why do you join an organization? The apartment is there. Inside that apartment, there is a lot of common areas. To maintain that common area, every one of us have to contribute. To manage that, we need an association. Correct. What is the necessity for you to become a member of Bangalore Apartment Association? All the associations in Bangalore form an association. And then, like that, every city will have an association. All those associations will form one association. Now, why do you want to become part of that? I'm not saying you should not become, please. Right? The point is utility. Whereas, when you entertain, you build a friend in school, did you think what is the use of talking to that person? You have friendship with your colleagues also in the office, right? When you are working, you have colleagues. When you do business, there are business associates. There is a banker with whom you have been transacting, interacting, all that, so much of interactions are going on. As though you two were like such a thick friends. All that the fellows will do. So long as he is in that position. The day he retires, what happens? That is why they don't want to get retirement. Somehow they'll try to get in for extension. Why? Only then the things will happen. What is it? The relationship is also done for what? Utility. When you pursue a peace, when you live your life based on utility, you cannot build intellect. Not possible. Intellect can be built only when you live life without any utility. Then with what you will live your life, sir? Sheer interest. I'm just interested. I'm just curious to know. It's just curiosity. That's it. I just wanted to know, what is it? I wanted to know what is electricity? What is that energy? Is there anything like that? Just that curiosity. That's about it. With that, am I going to build an empire? With that, am I going to become a big man? Will I earn more money? Will I get name, fame? See, utility, that doesn't mean only material. Because most of us think it is only material. No. It could be non-material also. Like I'm studying this for what, sir? I'm doing something for what? Name. I will get a name, Instead of telling a person, I'm going to a pub, I tell him I'm going to a Gita class. That's it. Immediately everybody looks up to you and say, yeah, there is a lot of respect. He's a respectful person, sir. For that, I may be doing. Suppose if I don't get it, I'll throw this and go to something else. If I do something else, there if I'm going to get more respect, then I drop this and pick up that. So there is no value for it per se. The value is for what it is going to be giving to me. What is the utility there? So when I'm gaining a piece of information, the entire thing is motivated, directed only because of the utility interest. Nothing else. The proof is all of us getting educated. Where we are all getting educated in that particular subject, forced. Because nobody is asking, what are you interested in? And you ask the child. Today, few people, parents, go and ask the child, what are you interested in? That fellow is confused. He also doesn't know. What is he interested in? I'm interested in what, sir? I'm interested only into keep watching TV. That's all. Keep playing on the mobile phone. Beyond that, the child cannot give an interest. So the child cannot know what it is interested in. And the parents can't recognize what is their interest. So they start, imposing their interest on the child. And then ask the child to pursue it. What is every parent interest on the child? I want my child to get settled, live life happily. I want him to enjoy his life. So my belief is what? If he studies engineering, he will get a job immediately. And that too, if he joins engineering in IIT, then you don't have to worry at all actually. Then what is it, sir? Campus interview will happen. Even before he comes to his 4th year, in the 3rd year itself, he will be employed. Problem solved. And then if he were to do this, therefore, what do? From the 8th standard, I start putting that fellow for the training course, IIT coaching. And the coaching centers are, 5,000 crore business, he says. One fellow is telling me, that coaching center is telling, that is 6,000 crore business now. I said, what? Coaching 6,000 crores? Another fellow is there. He is an ordinary guy. He is okay only. What is he, sir? 4,000 crores. What do they do, sir? They teach how to crack the entrance exam. Why so much of craze? You mean to say all those people who are going for that exam are all interested in engineering? Nothing. Then what is it? That is why intelligence. Life is such a strain with intelligence. Why? Profit. Instant, profit, immediate profit I get out of it. I see the possibility of utility. That's all. Don't say intellect is no use. No. It doesn't mean intellect is no use, please. No. The person pursues that not for the utility. Not because of that utility that is motivating him to pursue that. Then what is motivating him to pursue it, sir? That is what a layman will call as interest. In Vedanta, we call as swadharma. I pursue the subject, no matter what subject it is. Vedanta doesn't say only if you study Vedanta, you can build intellect. Not necessarily, please. Any subject you can pursue without utility. You can build intellect. There's no problem. But of all the subjects, the easiest one for you to, or rather, let's say, very difficult for you to put a utility tag is Vedanta. Therefore, we say, study Vedanta, you build intellect. I hope you are all with me. See, to build that, to build intellect, it is not necessary that you have to study only Vedanta. But then we say what? You have to study Vedanta only. Why? Because very difficult to put a utility tag to it. Why very difficult to put a utility tag here, sir? What is the purpose of Vedanta study? To know the self. To know what is that pure consciousness is. You can never know that pure consciousness. Not possible. The very goal, the very end of this cannot be achieved. But then you got to strive to reach there. You give your heart and soul to get there, to understand it. Which is told from the beginning, you can never understand it. Now, what can you do with it? What is the use of this object then? Very difficult to put a utility tag here. That is why you will attend the Vedanta class, but none of you will tell your child you should study Vedanta. I'm not saying all of you should tell your child, from tomorrow, every one of you study Vedanta, all of you go and join Vedanta Academy. You, even in the dream, you will not get that thought. If you get that in a dream, you will get a nightmare. You'll wake up. If your son or your daughter were to come and tell you, I was attending Vedanta class, I'm so interested, I want to study Vedanta. Immediately, parents call. They call, sir, we want to meet you. I know there is a problem. Why? There's no utility. Sir, then these people, have a very, intelligent way of telling that to me. Sir, your class is better. Your class itself is so amazing. I say, all that nakra don't do with me. I know how pathetic and I know how good it is. I know both. Okay. But then they say, very interesting there. So I don't know why he wants to go there. This is until we can get everything, no? Why? Because utility. The utility tag you cannot pursue. That is why there is no intellect. That is why there is no intellect. Nobody has that intellect. Why? The proof of intellect is what? It should have the function of the other aspect also, which is only gross intellect. I have not yet come to what is subtle intellect. I am only explaining gross intellect has two dimensions. In that, one dimension is intelligence. Of course, it has other aspects also. That we will do little later. When we go for a further detailed study, when we will go there. Okay. As of now, you can understand what is intellect has the capacity to receive an information and retain that information, which is called memory. Receive knowledge and retain that knowledge and reproduce that knowledge, which is what we call as intelligence. One dimension of gross intellect. Another dimension of gross intellect is to exercise control over the likes and dislikes, propelling in life. This is the second dimension of gross intellect. Who is going to do that, sir? Gross intellect is the one who is going to do that. Remember. So, gross intellect has two. Intelligence, or you can put it as memory, whatever way you want to put it, you can add it. Next dimension is this. Another aspect is the capacity to exercise control over the demands of the mind. And the demands of the mind means what? Desires, likes and dislikes. There is no end to desires and likes and dislikes. We have studied this earlier. There is no such thing called satiation to a desire. Why? Because, see, the senses, the body has got senses. The senses have two jobs to do. Organs of perception has two things. One aspect is it is designed to register that information, register the stimuli from the world. Your ears' job is what? To register sound. Okay, that's all the job of the ears. But then the ears have a natural tendency to go for a pleasant sound and resist unpleasant sound. It is natural for that. You ask me, what is the proof? The proof is, take 100 kids, babies, 3 months old baby, 100 you take. To all that 100 kids, you take that Karela paste and put it on the tongue. 100 out of 100, the kids will do what? Karela, you know, no? Bitter gourd paste. Take that bitter gourd paste and put it in the tongue. 100 out of 100 will say, To all that 100 kids, you take organic honey, because nowadays, you know, we have to say organic pure honey. Take a little of that and put it in the tongue, and we'll start enjoying. Where is intellect? Where is mind? Where is likes and dislikes? Nothing. The senses itself has that natural thing. That's all. 100 out of 100, the kids in the room, you do drilling. All of them will get irritated. 100 out of 100 kids, you put a violin. Those who have pets will know this. You know, when you go to the dog, you know, you touch a dog listlessly. That listless touch you give to that pet, it will move away. And with affection you touch, it will keep coming back to you. It's very interesting to see that. Where is it? It's the design itself. It's just a sensation. Remember, there is no like, dislike, there is no this, that, and all those things in the animals. It's just that sensation. The sensation that you get to a listless touch and the sensation of a loving touch is different. It's not the same. Animals can't register that. The senses have a natural tendency. Remember, it is designed like that. Don't ask me why. That's a design of it. I don't know why Allah. Design is that. So it is supposed to register. It is not only just the registration, it also has a preferences. It has a preference towards a particular one. It doesn't have a preference towards other one. When your mind is attached to that, when your mind is also linked to that, it's like fixing a motor, fixing an engine. The speed in which it goes, your likes and dislikes were to get added to that natural tendencies of the senses. is where it gallops. You are rushed into the world and you suffer. You can't control. That's what in the Bhagavad Gita, somewhere he says, the Vega. The problem is that Vega, when it says, that acceleration. You cannot control it. That speed. Your mind attached to this mounted on the senses. When your mind is mounted to the senses, it gets that power. It runs, it rushes. It is the job of the gross intellect to hold that mind without rushing into things, so that you can steer yourself in life appropriately. If you are not having this, then perennially you will have problems. What is a perennial problem, sir? You will always want life to move towards all that you like and avoid all that you dislike. That is not possible. That is why we call as pleasure and pain of life. Dukkha, sorrow, misery. What is misery? What is pleasure? What is pain? Pleasure, a pleasant experience, a happy experience, and a miserable experience. What is a happy experience? That experience that I want to go through. If I go through, that is called pleasant. The experience that I don't want to go through, but I am forced to go through, that is called pain. That's a pleasure and pain. Pleasure is this, pain is that. In life, you will be forced to go through very many experiences which you don't want to go through. Nobody wants to go through this lockdown, right? But still, you're forced to go through. Then what happens? That's called hell. Pleasure and pain, happiness, sorrow. When you say happy, happiness, sorrow, all that, what you are referring to is the experience that I want to go through, I go through. Pleasure, happiness, joy, peace, etc. The experience that I don't want to go through, yet I am forced to go through. Pain. That's the difference between fasting and starving. Isn't it? That's a difference, no? Fasting is what? Same sensation. As far as the body is concerned, the sensation remains the same thing. The sensation is your stomach is empty and it is asking for food. The same thing goes for that poor man also. His stomach is also empty. His stomach is also asking for food. Put something inside. No matter what, push something. Same thing is what your body also will say. But the way you go through that is very different from the way he goes through. That's why you call this as fasting, that as starving. It's a painful experience. Why? He doesn't want to go through that, yet he is forced to go through. That is called sorrow. Any sorrow. Whenever you say sorrow, misery, pain, discomfort, any word you use, all that means is only one thing. That is, I am forced to go through a particular experience, but I don't want to. I don't want that. But in life, you have to go through such things also. No choice. All of us will never get always the experiences which I want to go through. Life will pose both. Now, I need to know how to steer myself through all those things. That is where intellect comes to control the mind. Otherwise, it's not possible. Now comes the catch. This is a real catch. Okay. Very tough. Already time. Now, having started, I don't want to leave it halfway. That's why I extended. Up to this register. Fortunately, we are going to have only 1 day break. So I suppose you to have a fresh in memory. So far, what you have seen is intelligence, intellect. Then intellect has 2 dimensions: gross intellect, subtle intellect. Gross intellect has 2 aspects. One is information, memory. Another one is control over the mind. It is supposed to exercise control over the mind. This is what gross intellect is. There is a catch. You will see from that next class. Thank you.